Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 7. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayom Vishnupada Paramahansa Paribrajaka Astotara Sata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prince Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinata Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Vrindavan Mathura Dham Ki Jai Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 7. Karpanya doshupata svabhava prichami tvam dharma samudachetaha Yachriyasya nishchitam bruhitan me shishyasteham sharivam tvam prapannam Karpanya doshupata svabhava prichami tvam dharma samudachetaha Yatriyasya nishchitam bruhitan me shishyasteham sharimam tvam prapannam Karpanya doshupata svabhava prichami tvam dharma samudachetaha Yatriyasya nishchitam bruhitan me shishyasteham sharimam tvam prapannam Karpanya miserly dosha, weakness, upahata, being inflicted by, swabhavaha, characteristics, prichami, I am asking, tvam, unto you, dharma, religion, samhuda, bewildered, chetaha, in heart, yat, what, shreya, all good, syat, may be, nishchitam, confidential, bruhi, tell, tat, that, me, unto me, shishya, disciple, te, yours, aham, I am, shadi, just instruct, mam, me, me, tvam, unto you, prapanam, surrendered. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me clearly what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Purport. By nature's own way, the complete system of material activities is a source of perplexity for everyone. In every step there is perplexity, and therefore it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. All Vedic literatures advise us to approach a bona fide spiritual master to get free from the perplexities of life which happen without our desire. They are like a forest fire that somehow blazes without being set by anyone. Similarly, the world situation is such that perplexities of life automatically appear without our wanting such confusion. No one wants fire, and yet it takes place, and we become perplexed. The Vedic wisdom therefore advises that in order to solve the perplexities of life and to understand the science of the solution, one must approach a spiritual master who is in the disciplic succession. A person with a bona fide spiritual master is supposed to know everything. One should not therefore remain in material perplexities, but should approach a spiritual master. This is the purport of this verse. Who is the man in material perplexities? It is he who does not understand the problems of life. In the Garga Upanishad, the perplexed man is described as follows. Yova etad aksharam gargi avitvam sma lokat praiti sakripanaha. He is a miserly man who does not solve the problems of life as a human being and who thus quits this world like the cats and dogs without understanding the science of self-realization. This human form of life is most valuable asset for the living entity who can utilize it for solving the problems of life. Therefore, one who does not utilize this opportunity properly is a miser. On the other hand, there is the Brahmana, or he who is intelligent enough to utilize this body to solve the problems of life. The Kripanas, or miserly persons, waste their time in being overly affectionate for family, society, country, etc. in the material conception of life. One who is often attached to family life, namely to wife, children, and is able to protect his family members from death, or the Kripana, thinks that his family or society can save him from the verge of death. Such family attachment can be found even in the lower animals who take care of children also. Being intelligent, Arjuna could understand that his affection for family members and his wish to protect them from death were the cause of his perplexities. Although he could understand that his duty to fight was awaiting him, still, on account of miserly weakness, he could not discharge his duties. He is therefore asking Lord Krishna, the Supreme Spiritual Master, to make a definite solution. He offers himself to Krishna as a disciple. He wants to stop friendly talks. Talks between the master and the disciple are serious. And now Arjuna wants to talk very seriously before the recognized spiritual master. Krishna is therefore the original spiritual master of the science of Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna is the first disciple for understanding the Gita. How Arjuna understands the Bhagavad Gita is stated in the Gita itself, and yet foolish mundane scholars explain that one need not submit to Krishna as a person, but to the unborn within Krishna. There is no difference between Krishna's within and without, and one who has no sense of this understanding is the greatest fool in trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita. Karpanya doshupata swabhava prichami tvam dharma samura chetaha yat shreyasyan nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham shadiman tvam prapannam. So, this is a key point in the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, a key point in the event of the life of Krishna and Arjuna. Krishna and Arjuna were cousins. Krishna's mother, Devaki, was the sister of Arjuna's father. Krishna's mother, Devaki, was the sister of Vasudeva. So, no, I've got it wrong. Devaki was the daughter of King Devaka. Devaka was the brother of King Ugrasena. Ugrasena was the father of Kamsa. Therefore, Devaki and Kamsa were cousin brothers and sisters. But Devaki was also the wife of Vasudeva, and she was the mother of Krishna. Therefore, Kamsa became the uncle through marriage of Krishna. And Arjuna was the son of Kunti Devi, and Kunti Devi was the sister of Vasudeva. And therefore, Krishna and Arjuna were cousin brothers. As cousin brothers, there was an affectionate but also equal relationship. And when this point in Arjuna's life came about, when after many, many years of suffering, many indignities, suffering also for his life, being persecuted by his cousin brothers, finally the matter had come to a head as who was going to be the successor king of Bharata, of this planet. And on the one side, there was Duryodhana and his brothers, who were the cousins of the Pandavas, Arjuna and his brothers. And because there was no possibility of a compromise, it was decided they would fight, and whoever would win the fight would become the next emperor of Bharatvarsha. That was the system. The Kshatriya kings, they would fight among each other for control of the citizens. The citizens themselves weren't involved in a fight. It wasn't like the wars which are being carried out today, where civilians are being killed, women, children, old men are being massacred and bombed indiscriminately and written off as collateral damage. And the so-called warriors, the so-called commanders, they are sitting in the fortified bunkers below the earth, completely out of danger, and the poor soldiers are being killed on the battlefield along with the civilians. That was not the system according to the Vedic program. According to the Vedic culture, the Kshatriyas, the kings, would fight, and if there was a dispute against another king, they would fight until the death. When one king would die, then the next king would become victorious and he would get the spoils. So in the same way, the situation had come to this point where they were going to fight Duryodhana and his brothers against Yudhishthira and his brothers to see who was going to be the emperor. Now, Yudhishthira relied very much upon Arjuna, who was a great fighter. And when it came to the moment of fighting, Arjuna asked Krishna to please drive his chariot between the two armies so he could see who was there and who was willing to fight against him, who was on his side and who was against him. This is Now, Krishna didn't participate in the fight. Because Krishna was related to both cousins, he became neutral in the fight. In fact, he offered his army, which Duryodhana, Arjuna's cousin, accepted, and he offered himself as the chariot driver and guide to Arjuna. Therefore, as the chariot driver, he drove the chariot between the two armies, and then suddenly Arjuna realized what he was up against. It was no more theory. Now the day had come when action had to be taken. And on the other side, he saw his grandfather, Bhishma, he saw his teacher, Dronacharya, his second teacher, Kripacharya, he saw his cousin brothers, he saw his in-laws, many, many, many people who were related to him, ready to fight, ready to lay down their lives. And out of compassion, he began to talk to Krishna and say, why should I fight? Why do we need this kingdom? After all, life is temporary. Let us simply retire and go to the forest, because winning the kingdom at the expense of those whom I love, those to whom I am related, is not palatable to me. Better live like a beggar than obtain a kingdom which is tainted by the blood of so many of my family and friends. So this was the situation. And because he didn't know how to proceed, because on the one hand, he was a warrior, so it was his duty to fight. In fact, the duty of a Kshatriya, which is Kshatriyas or the arms of society, is to protect the citizens and to fight on their behalf. It was their duty. In fact, it is Vedic injunction that if a Kshatriya, a warrior, dies on the battlefield fighting for religious principles, he is promoted to the heavenly planets. So whether he dies, he goes to the heavenly planets, and if he wins, he enjoys the earthly planets. So it is a win-win situation. Nonetheless, because Arjuna was a devotee, he has some compassion. He could understand. It's like anyone who becomes a devotee of God, who becomes a devotee of Krishna, his eyes become open. He sees the nature of the material world. He sees how much people are suffering. He sees how people are living like animals, even though they have a human body. Two-legged animals. They simply live to eat, sleep, and enjoy their senses. They exploit each other. They steal from God. They live a life of ignorance. So when one becomes a devotee and he sees these things, he becomes compassionate. Even Prahlad Maharaj, he had the great fortune to be protected by Lord Krishna in the form of Narasinghadev. And when Narasinghadev asked him, my dear Prahlad, what benediction can I give you? Prahlad said, the only benediction I want is that I may be able to help my spiritual master, Narada Muni, to preach your glories, so that the people who are suffering in this material world will become liberated. A devotee sees everything connected to God. He sees everything connected to Krishna, not just the human beings, also the animals, the plants, the trees, and he sees everywhere the living entity within the material bodies. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, that Vidya, the purpose of knowledge, is Vinaya. Vinaya means to become gentle, to become sensitive to other people's pain. Brahmani Gavi Hastini, whether he sees a Brahmana, whether he sees a dog, whether he sees a cow, whether he sees an elephant. Swapakicha Pandita Samadashina. One who is a Pandita, one who is connected with God, and he has the knowledge of his relationship with God, he becomes gentle, and because he sees everywhere the manifestation of God. He sees everybody connected with God, and he sees how much they're suffering. It's just like if you know a rich man's son, and suddenly you see him lying on the side of the road, homeless, with no facilities, forgotten his relationship with his family. You will take him by the hand and say, come, my dear friend, you don't realize you are such and such. Your father is such and such. Your mother is such and such. Your home is there. And he will take him back to his home. This is a natural activity. So when the devotee sees that people are suffering because of their sense of want, their sense of not having enough, what is it that we don't have enough of? We don't have enough love. We don't have enough happiness because you're disconnected from the source. So a devotee understands that if I connect these people, if I connect these living entities to Krishna, then they will become happy. And this is the vision of a devotee. And here, on the battlefield, Arjuna sees, suddenly he sees that he needs to overcome the limitations of bodily conception. The limitations of bodily conceptions are that I believe I am this body, and everything related to this body is mine. That I am a man, I am an American, I am an Englishman, I am this, I am that, I am old, I am young, and this is my wife, this is my country, these are my children, these are my friends. But this kind of consciousness is also there in the animals. In fact, when Krishna spoke to the great sages in Kurukshetra, years before the battle, there was a solar eclipse. And Krishna came from Dwarka with his father, Vasudeva, and mother Devaki, and he came to Kurukshetra, and all because of the solar eclipse and because of Krishna's presence, many, many great sages came, great demigods, great sages, and Krishna spoke to them, and the sages were eager to hear what Krishna had to say. And in very few words, Krishna gave a concise description of what is this material world and what is the purpose of life. Yasyatma buddhi kuna petri dhatuke swadi kalatradishu boma ijjadi yatirtha buddhi shalile nakarichit janesu abhigyesu saheva gokara. That those people who believe that they are this body, atma buddhi, they believe their consciousness is identifying with the body. And the body is simply a bag made of blood, pus, and urine, and muscle, and bones. Three dhatuke, kapha, vayu, and vata. These are the three elements of the material body. Phlegm, air, fire. These are the three elements. In Ayurvedic medical science, the Ayurvedic doctor, by feeling the pulse of the patient, he can understand how these elements are interacting and if there is an imbalance. And by different medicines, lifestyle, diet, he brings back the balance of these three elements. When these three elements are balanced, then we have healthy life. So the body is made of these three elements. So Krishna says, one who thinks that this bag of the three elements is himself, kunapete, three dhatuke, three dhatus, swadi, who thinks that this is his wife, kalatra dishu, wife and children and family that belong to him, Boma Ijjadi, who believes this country of birth is worshipable, like now we see in our political situation on this planet that everybody is glorifying some flag or another, identifying with this country or that country, who thinks that going to a holy place is meant just to take bath, but doesn't take advantage of the Abhig Yesu, or the advanced devotees who are normally found at holy places. The reason that in the Vedas it is recommended in India that we visit the holy places like Mathura, Vrindavan, Prayag, Puri, is that in these places people who are devotees of Krishna congregate. So if you go to such a holy place, of course, it is beneficial to be in a holy place. But the real purpose of going to the holy place, Krishna says, is not just to take bath, but is to inquire about the purpose of life. Just like here, Arjuna is inquiring from Krishna, what is the purpose of life? So if you do not do that, if you simply live a life identifying with the body, then Krishna says, you're no better than a cow or an ass. Because if you don't practice spiritual life, if you don't understand the importance, the number one importance of human life is to inquire about who you are, then you're not living any better than any cow or any ass. And in fact, you will lose your human birth next life if you don't practice genuine spiritual life in this life. This is the idea. So in this verse, Arjuna is feeling some pain, because when you try to make spiritual advancement on this material plane, you're going against the flow. You're going against what everybody else finds valuable. If you decide to become a pure devotee of Krishna, if you give up your attachment, immediately you will run into opposition from family members, from friends, from work givers, from politicians, from everyone in society, because nobody likes to be told or likes to be shown up that he's doing something which is wrong. If you go against the grain, you will run into trouble. Therefore, to make advance of the spiritual life, you have to fight against these enemies of knowledge. So Arjuna was feeling the pain that here, if I have to fight, who do I have to fight against? I have to fight against my grandparent, against my teacher, against my cousins, against my friends. What he's actually saying, what is really happening is that I have to fight against my attachments. And when you want to break attachment, pain and distress will come. It's just like if you have a plaster on your skin, and if you take it off, the more it is stuck, the more painful it is to remove it. So the more we are attached to these material things, the more painful it is to remove. But Krishna is there, and Krishna is our witness. He knows how we became attached. Becoming attached to the material world is like becoming lost in a maze. You know, you go into the maze, you turn left, you turn right, and then suddenly you don't know where you are. You don't know how to come back. Or getting lost in the forest. You go into the forest and you go off the beaten track, and then suddenly you don't know where you are anymore. You cannot trace your way back because everything looks the same. There is only one person who knows how we became entangled in this maze. Only one person who knows how we became lost in the forest. And that is the witness within our heart, Krishna, who doesn't blink, doesn't sleep, 24 hours a day. He is alert and he knows everything, past, present, and future. Therefore, the process of spiritual life is to approach Krishna, who is known as the Chatya Guru, or the Guru within the heart, and to ask him that somehow, Krishna, I have become lost. I've become attached to so many things. I don't know what is the purpose of life. I don't know how to reverse engineer my illusion. Please help me. Shad Imam, Yat Shreyasyan, tell me what is good for me. There is Shreya and there is prayer. Prayer means immediate enjoyment, sense enjoyment. And Shreya is ultimate enjoyment. What is the ultimate enjoyment? The ultimate enjoyment is then when we become conscious of our spiritual nature, we become prasanatma. We become our soul, our very life becomes prasanna, glorious, becomes ecstatic. That is a real ecstasy. Understanding your spiritual nature. And Arjuna is saying to Krishna, tell me, how do I go from this position of pain and illusion and doubt? How do I go to that position of eternal life and bliss? And this is the purpose of approaching the Chaitya Guru within the heart. When we do that, then the external Guru will also be manifested by the grace of Krishna. Nowadays, especially in the society of devotees, there is so much discussion. Who is Guru? Actually, the problem is not who is Guru. The question is, what is Guru, first of all. Second of all, you don't need to worry about finding a Guru. Krishna is in your heart. He knows what you need. He has the full power to take you back home, back to Godhead at any time, anywhere, without any effort. And whatever you require, Krishna will bring you. Yoga Kshema Vahameham. Whatever you need, I will bring to you. I will protect what you have, and I will bring you what you need. Simple as that. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So, I see the Atmavidya is here. Hare Krishna, humble obeisances to the devotees. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Anna Maria, Hare Krishna, obeisances and greetings. Vikramaditya Bijolia. Hare Krishna. Krishna Premavati, Mandi Priyer. Good evening, dear Prabhus. Rob Illings, Pranam. Krishna Kamal Barman, Hare Krishna, my humble obeisances to the devotees. Atmavidya, as a comment, very convincing class and eloquently delivered. I feel inspired to cut off more attachment. You're very humble, Atma. You have no attachment. I know you have attachment. You have attachment to Krishna. Atmavidya is my dear God brother. He's been a devotee since he was a teenager. He was a schoolboy when he met the devotees in Hamburg. So he has no attachment, believe me. So Anna Maria Monchada says, it seems good how the Vaishnavas in ancient times protected the citizens. My question is, nowadays, who is going to protect the senior devotees left on his own? You can see an example in this link. It describes an example of all the penances of a devotee who dedicates their life to serve and was abandoned. At present time here in Colombia, the senior devotees are struggling alone in old age. I personally know some of them, and it is very sad to look at the situation. Because this is a common question. Who will take care of me in my old age? I'm an old man. Krishna's taking care of me. I lack for nothing. You don't have to worry. If you actually surrender to Krishna, then whatever you need will be provided by the Lord. That faith you must have. And even if you're suffering, be sure that even though the suffering may come, Krishna will give you the strength to support and overcome that suffering. And that suffering is external. People who are actually pure devotees, they don't see the suffering. They see the commitment to Krishna. Good. Thank you very much. I'll see you day after tomorrow on Friday. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.